Okay, we are back with Wind, and the first one we're going to look at is Ash. And we're not going to spend much time on this one because historically there have been plenty of cards in the past, some with EX Burst and some of the same price as well, that say break a forward of cost 5 or more, and they have never, ever seen play. So this is at least the Job Princess. It is searchable, and I suppose with all the not primals, all the icons running about, it might do something, but no.
That is 5 or more. It's just like so restricted.
A card that says that has like never seen play though. Like that's like Opus 1, Alexander, Opus 2. Oh god, what was she called? The backup. Canacena.
The Canacenas,
yeah. And it's
the only thing going for it is the.
Go on.
I was going to say the only thing going for it is on top of owner's deck is actually a pretty reasonable type of removal, because you can put something on top that doesn't have any X burst, so you're getting rid of it and also pseudo removing from game and not having the X burst. But man, this is not the card for doing that.
I don't think it's terrible, but I don't think it will see play in any format.
I do just want to say Diablos in terms of breaking 5 or more.
Yes, but that also had other modes, didn't it? So
that was probably the most chosen the least amount of times.
But what I mean though is like the backups that have done this sort of thing, and like characters.
Yeah. I was just going to say, if we use this on an icon, wouldn't the icon then immediately go out of play anyway, and the underneath card, if it was primed, go up to hand? So you wouldn't be able to. If it was primed, yeah. I'm honestly though, this card maybe. Do you think if it said 4 or more, it would be broken?
I don't think it could say that. I don't think it would say that. And yeah, it might be if it said 4 or more.
Yeah.
But like, man, we've already spent too much time. Let's talk about Valor 4.
Oh, let's talk about Valor 4.
I don't like it, and I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't think it really adds anything that that Wind really needs.
I think it is going to be quite good because of the Wind Legend we will get to shortly. Just being able to fish 7 cards in your deck for it, and like, there's so many very, very valuable 1 and 2 CP Wind forwards that you want to try and search for this, and it can hit backups as well. So I don't know how often you are going to want it to hit backups. But realistically, what you need to think with this is that you're theoretically paying like the cost for whatever it is you flip, and so you're using this card in hand instead of that card, so you're only really 1 CP down, which is like.
But you still might not hit it though.
But if you mulligan no backups into no backups, but you have one of these in hand, at least you can do something, right? You just pay 2 CP and hope for the best. But I think especially with the Belgiumine, which we'll get to towards the end of the element, Belgiumine is absolutely cracked, and being able to try and dig for Belgiumine.
We can move straight up to Belgiumina now if you want. Like I'm not too bothered about the number, but excuse me. Sorry. The thing is that Wind decks don't have a problem with pulling out anything that they need at any time anyway. So that I'm with Jacko. I don't see it. I don't think it takes out the summon slots at all, which are like, if you're taking out Wind summons to play this, what are you taking out?
Well,
possibly, I think the one thing I would say would be Chocobo, the one that flips for characters. I think is what you
EX burst. It's too good, man, and it's searchable.
The thing is, you're saying you're running it to bow you out of trouble. So if that's the case, how many copies of this are you running to do that? Like 1, and then the odds of you seeing it are low. But if you're running this at 3, that's 3 summons you got to then to make space for this.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever 3. 1 or 2 would be nice.
Yeah, if it's 1, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to be proven wrong on this one.
Me too, absolutely.
With Wind doesn't have a lot of cards which start your storm counter. A lot of cards are obviously like, when you hit 3 or when you hit 2 or whatever. And I think this is a great card which can kick start your storm off. I think if you play this, if you've already stormed off last turn, your opponent hasn't really done much, then it's not going to do much. But I think if you're looking to storm off and you don't quite have the answer you need to get going straight away in hand, this can be your cast 1 and your answer out into a storm turn.
Like I say, I'm happy to be proven wrong. That's why, for me, I'm just saying I don't get it. I don't. Yeah, I'd like to see it work, but I don't know if I see it yet. But yeah, do you know what? We'll move straight up. Like we'll move 14 cards down to Belgamina straight away. Like because you mentioned it now, so why not? She's pretty strong. 1 CP, 3k. She cannot be chosen by summons, even your own, so she can't be chocoboed. And during each turn, when you cast the second summon you've cast, choose up to 2 forwards, deal them 4k. Megissa, maybe. It's not terrible still. And during each turn, when you cast the third summon you've cast, choose up to 3 forwards your opponent controls and put them at the bottom of their owner's deck. It's strong.
A lot of forwards.
I find it a bit weird that the first part of the effect where when you cast the second summon, you're choosing 2 forwards, dealing them 4k. Then when you cast one more summon, you're just then putting probably the same forwards just to the bottom of their deck anyway. Feels a bit weird that it sort of negates the effect in a way. You'd need a big board to get the most value out of this.
So
it's frustrating that it's 4k because obviously Lulu sets things to 5k, but maybe that is on purpose, and I understand.
Yeah, I think that is.
So what I'll say here very quickly is it's because that's if you cast 3 summons, and casting 3 summons like every turn whenever you need it is not an easy task. So I think the 4k ones are what you're meant to do.
But also with this as well, like it cannot be chosen by summons, but like it's 3k, you just like limit break Zach and that will just kill it, and they can't even Chocobo to save it.
Sure, but the whole point is that you're realistically going to be getting that effect off the immediate, like as soon as this comes down, and it's quite hard to interrupt that midway through, even if say you had like a Warrior of Light ping, because in response to the Warrior of Light ping, you just play 2 more summons, right? And then sure it dies, but at the very least you've still managed to get its effect off.
I do just feel with everything that you've described, and maybe this is, we'll see play alongside Luso, but I feel like it's just doing all the same things that Luso, right? Like gonna wipe them with Luso. Instead, you're just doing it with Belgamine instead.
I would say it's easy to get Belgamine off too, personally. But again, where we've seen like we've got the Ice Terror, we've had this set, very good because it allows you to try and do it again. With obviously the Lulu getting some recursions. This is also a target off of Asura, so you could Asura into playing this. I think it's quite easy to do, and I think that one of the main differences between this and Luso is that you can do this in your opponent's turn, which is kind of disgusting if you manage to get it off, which isn't particularly difficult, especially considering you're also getting Atomos triggers in your opponent's turn as well to kind of keep going. I think it's very possible to do this in your opponent's turn. And there's no wind summon that's being played that costs more than 2 CP. It's 1 or 2 CPs, so I think it's very likely.
I mean, in a world where Chocomog, Azura, and a glutton of other cheap summons exist, it is very easy to get this happening on your opponent's turn, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I don't.
It is good. I don't know if it is like blowing my mind good, but it's definitely very strong.
I think it's more about the floor rather than the ceiling. I think, and like if you're gonna like get rid of like a board wipe once with this, sure, cool. That's fine. Yeah, I think you're only supposed to really do it once because of just like how heavy an ask it is.
Even if you've done it once, you've spent only 3 CP to do it. If you include 1 CP plus the card in hand, and then you threaten doing it again if your opponent doesn't have an answer for this, because the only answer your opponent can have for this is an ability. If they're only running summons, they can try and force you to block. you're probably just going to take the damage at that point, right? So if your opponent doesn't have an answer for this, they're just going to be like crying.
There are so many LBs that just deal with this as well, though, which is,
Yeah, but by the time you've got to that point, it's already done what it needs to do.
Maybe
and you're spending an LB card on this rather than trying to generate U value.
I think I'm gonna say I'm completely with Jacko. It's strong, but it's not blowing my mind. Let's try and get through this as quick as we can because Varn doesn't have much to talk about. Sky Pirates, he's called Varn, so no. 5 CP, no. Activate only 2. The instant refund of 2 backups is quite nice, but
you will see this
for
sure.
It's not the guy in a common format. That's pretty cool, but in anything else, I've already spent too much time. Vieira is really cool. I have a feeling this will see play, because of just like being able to. Well, if you even have 3 of these, you can just do these like instantly, right? Just to get your cast count up. It's like, a free 2 CP any single time. So yeah, like you basically, if you have like 1 on the field, you crack this to activate 2 to play the next one, which was like crack to activate 2, and so that's an easy cast 3, which I know is just like the Exodia of doing it, but
it's what backups would you drop for this though?
Yeah.
Wind has already got
Carpenter probably.
Line.
I think it's worth trying these, but I can see it going either way. They'll either stick and they'll have a great time, or they'll be very quickly realize that they're not as good as the options currently available. And I think it's worth testing.
Yeah, like I say, if anything, it's Carpenter because it's still searchable from Luso. It's still, it's good. I think there's a heavy ceiling for this as well. But Onion Knight, well, he's a Warrior of Light. He's an Onion Knight. He's a Warp 1, and you basically just warp him forever. That's the card. But
cost 3 for your Gigaworld deck.
Well, it ain't gonna be this one. Look,
there are better 3-drop Onion Knights for that.
Yeah. True, but like having him like forever in warp means that like he's like you can do this. You can remove him at any point, so he can literally flash himself out of the game whenever he's targeted or anything like that, and Vayne will continually draw off of this guy.
It's interesting that he's quite protectable, and he's quite sticky when you want him to be.
I really like him for a common. I think he's pretty cool. I think it's a neat little effect we haven't really seen before. It's something a bit new. Something that can definitely be utilized with something like Vayne. So
yeah,
how do you think for a common? I'm pretty
as a combo piece, he's better than he reads. But it's all right because we're going to get into some proper meat and potatoes here because we have Benedicta and Garuda. This is super, super interesting. So, starting off with Benedicta, priming cost of 1, which is beautiful and how good that is. For at damage 3, she gains haste and she's got first strike. So if you prime at damage 3 into Garuda 16, Garuda 16 will have haste, but not first strike.
Yeah, the first strike doesn't carry over.
Yeah.
Because the haste gets put on the card.
It's an effect, yeah.
If you benefit from an ability, it carries over.
Garuda 16 is really good. When Garuda 16 enters the field, or when Benedicta primes into Garuda 16, activate all the backups you control. Does not say wind. Beautiful stuff. And when Garuda 16 attacks, use up to 2 forward opponent controls and bounce them. Oh, wow. I can't believe this is only a rare. This is really, really good. And it's like we were saying about the Torgal priming deck, like this she's in 100%.
Oh, yeah. Comfy.
It's also there's no stack interaction before you do the priming anyway because she doesn't have an entry effect. Garuda, you're getting it.
Yeah, true. I don't know if there's really much to say about that. I'm really happy it doesn't say wind on it. Because it just means that there's so much you can do with it. Like having it mono ice, being able to go twice is just disgusting. Especially when you can spend everything and only have 1 CP left over.
But even without giving it haste, like if you're, mono ice wants to get to 5 backups, even if you just flat out playing the Garuda, it's a free card. So whatever removal they spend on it, you've invested probably no CP into that card.
Like so much better than Bart's and Vata and all those ones in the past that have seen competitive play. Garuda 16 will see competitive play. Do you think Garuda 16 makes it to mono wind?
I think there will be a build with it in.
I think it's definitely going to have like it being tested in it. I think it's such a versatile card that it's worth giving it a go. Even just spending you spend full CP for a free, storm counter at the very least, but then you are having to put in more than likely 3 and 3 maybe, and that's a lot of cards.
I do think that it costing 4 to get it to Garuda and it being 9k is suddenly that kind of like non-cloudable thing that Wind can have that sticks to the board.
Yeah.
It's not just something that hits the board and is easily removed.
Pretty brutal to get this off of like Rosa or something as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that it has a very relevant enter effect and can constantly have pressure because it has that attack trigger every single turn, unlike another icon come up later. But yeah, I don't think it's bad.
It's up to as well. It's not required.
But no, yeah, it's there's everything about this I like, and it takes a lot for me to say that about win cards. But no, I love it. And Thief, I don't love. It draws a card. Cool, but at 4 win backups it says 1 forward can't be blocked, which is just not relevant, is it? Because to be honest, Wind's only swinging when it's got nothing to swing into anyway. So yeah, it's a no from me on this one.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. And the next one we have is speaking of which, Zidane.
Zidane is written much fairer than the other ones.
Sort of. When Zidane enters the field or is put from the field to the break zones, dealt twice. Choose one character in your opponent's break zone, remove it from the game during this game. Do you imagine if it said this match? You can cast it as though you owned it anytime you could normally cast it. That's pretty good. And damage 5, you can do it with any CP. I'd love to try this in Gigawall, costing 3. I think it's pretty cool. I think there's more decks that this can go in than you'd think, but it definitely isn't blowing my mind. But anyone got any strong feelings on this one?
I just think that this one is proof that the Opus 16 2CP Zidane is way too strong even now. I mean, I think this has much fairer lines of text on it, and it's a little bit more difficult to get going, but it can do good things, and it's still a really strong card. I still think the other Zidane should be banned, but here we are.
I'm glad this can't choose summons.
Yes. See,
it's a very compared to the other Zidanes, I think it's too fair to see play over them. It costing 3 CP is a little awkward compared to the 2 CP one where it's really easy to slam down. It doesn't really fit in a storm deck for wind. It doesn't color fix, which is what all of them should do anyway, to be honest.
It
is
a damage
nice
5 effect.
Yeah, which is, the damage 5 effect is fine, but they should all have that clause at the very least. It's obviously it's nice that you get to keep it for the whole game. You get to choose your target rather than rolling a dice. But there's going to be some times where it's just going to be completely irrelevant, and you can only get it done twice, as opposed to the 2CP one where you get it done every single time it attacks. And it's very easy for one card to manage to steal 6-7 cards off of the top of your opponent's deck because they just can't deal with it because it's hard to deal with sometimes.
And yeah, it's just kind of is a balanced version of the 2CP one, which means I don't think it will see play.
That's entirely fair. Yeah.
Never know. Might be the confirmation that the TCP one's going.
It won't be nice,
We can only hope.
No.
but yeah, like you're not gonna, if that 2CP one does go, are you gonna put this one in its stead in a storm deck?
No.
Probably not. That one gets you 2 cards immediately and color fixes them immediately. And yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Leechbat. Leechbat is pretty cool. So basically, when this is another attack and die, and when it dies, you can look at your opponent's hand and select 1 card and make sure they discard it. But they have to draw 1 as well. So, it's cool. Does this make the cut for a wind card? Well, I mean, like, it's a good storm starter. And because you've got something like Evray, it's going to be essentially free. It's fine. I don't know if it make the cut, but I think it's probably worth a try. And a lot of people probably won't even bother, but I think it is worth a try.
It's definitely one of the better ones of this, I think. Combos with Bunavelza potentially if you want to play it off your realms. You Bunavelza and yeah.
I think I disagree. I think it's probably the worst one we've seen. I feel like all cards that have this kind of effect where you get to see your opponent's hand and then they draw off of it is all removed, but this is just discard, so it's like not even like that detrimental. And like I can't see it being played in a storm deck because it doesn't net you anything back. Like I think it's genuinely maybe too slow for a storm deck, and like by the point you've gone to attack, your opponent has probably made it so that it doesn't matter what they get rid of in their hand, they're probably okay with it. I think this isn't really it. I think out of all of these ones we've seen, this is the worst.
I don't think anyone's going to have any stronger feelings than that, really. Like, I think it's solidly okay, and I think that it is worth a test, but you're probably right as well there. But let's go back to Stranger of Paradise, where we have Sophia looking through forever.
Cheers.
Oh, that's like a neck. Jesus. 3 CP 8k, not bad. Spend a crystal and break a forward cost 5 or more. Choose 1 monster, break it. Mum, can we get a Rebel Akbel? We've got Rebel Akbel at home.
I wish that was just an effect you could do whenever. It wasn't once on entry.
Tidus. Warp 540. Super interesting card. So Warp 0, which means you can go in any deck at all. When a warp counter is removed from any player's card other than card named Tidus, remove 1 warp counter from Tidus. So it's not going to take 5 cards to come in. If something else is warped as well. This effect will trigger only if Tidus is removed. The forwards with warp you control gain haste and cannot be chosen by your opponent's summons. Interesting.
That's the most interesting line of text. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to make warp cards infinitely better than what they already are. But it is something cool to consider with them. A lot of warp cards don't have haste, and that's something to consider. That's all I'm going to say, really. It's not great. It's weird choice for a legend.
Especially when you don't put any other warp cards in the set.
Well, no, there is that Onion Knight.
Oh, great.
Yeah, spoiled. Absolutely spoiled.
It's like the warp cards that see play at the moment, right? All have haste anyway. So it's just the summon protection.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I wouldn't mind a Teodor having summon protection, but Teodor is probably going to be on the field long before this appears anyway.
Well, yeah, exactly. Look, it's yeah, it's cool. I don't see it yet. Maybe one day, but today I don't think is that day.
It's one of these cards that I love to see because it tries to inspire a lot of deck building sort of ideas, and I think we need more cards like this rather than just generic boring good card. I think you really kind of like can try and figure out and puzzle together a deck for this. But the thing is that Warp has kind of always been a bit ass. Like, there's been some good Warp cards, sure, but I don't think. I think when I played in Euros, I don't think I saw a single card get warped against me. I don't think this is the answer to make warp cards.
Yeah,
there's nothing that is warp that you need haste either.
I'm happy that it's getting support, but it needs more than this. Oh Jesus!
It's in the same element as Vayne, so you never know.
Someday that deck will be playable.
Maybe there's like a Wind Lightning Warp thing then, so that you play like Gramis to search like for Vayne, and then like you've got like obviously Estinian, which isn't terrible. Like I say, it'd be nice to give Estinian haste, but he has it.
You always play the Emperor off element for its warp cost as well.
Yeah, which is genuinely quite a good card as well, and I have seen that like Fringe played quite a bit as well.
I think it's going to be a great pub deck for someone with this set. Yeah. Maybe a card for the future, but I think time will tell.
We have No next, who's pretty cool. I don't know if it makes the cut for standard play, but I could see this played in Wind as like a really nice kill spell for basically 3 or lesses.
Is he twerking?
So I think he's doing the monkey.
He is doing the monkey.
Twist or something, yeah. Yeah, it's boogie on, that's for sure. But I don't know, I feel like Mono Wind kind of has the removal sorted out now, like in terms of between Luso and now Belgiumine. I don't know if you want to spend 2 CP to try and kill something. Again, it reads like a card that wants to go in Storm, but it doesn't net you any card back to try and keep the Storm going, and like you can't replace anything for Storm with this. And where else does this card fit?
I really like its design.
One day, you don't get that many forward Moogles, so you never know. One day if there's ever a tribal deck.
Oh well, that's coming up later, and that's sort of a little bit worse than I thought it was. But I like the design. If this was a fire card, it'd probably see play. But alas, it doesn't need to go in Wind. But we have Bart, another Warrior of Light backup, which is interesting. When Bart enters the field, choose up to 2 backups. If any cards you own are removed from the game, activate them. Bart's not super contested in all Warrior of Light decks, despite the S effect one. So it's fine. He loves his violin bow.
CP backup Barts that reactivates all your characters on EX burst as well. Anyway,
yes, but 2 is different. I think 2 CP is massively different in this.
What's interesting is that if it's removed from the game in any fashion, so if it's just currently in a state of warp, that would make it a valid target. Or if somebody has ordained one of your cards. Yeah.
Look, maybe. I think a Warrior of Light backup is never something to be sniffed at, so like keep it in mind. But we shall see, I guess. A card that I don't think of that's coming up now is something that no one apart from me will ever be so happy it exists, but it's Minwu. Because I'm the only person in the universe that knows that Firewind Rebels is actually really good. So being able to resurrect, like, what is it? So it's category 2 forwards other than Minwu you control. Again, this forward cannot be chosen by opponent's abilities. And when Minwu enters the field, choose 1 category 2 forward other than card name Minwu in your break zone. If its cost is equal to or less than the number of backups you control, play it onto the field. Super relevant, because it means that you can resurrect Guy for 5 CP. Literally anything in the Rebels deck. And again, for a 4 CP investment in that, it's so easy to get all your backups in line in that deck. And then just have the choice of just being like, I want Furion, I want Guy. Guy's going to play the Furion from deck, or I'm going to play the Maria to give everything, like, make everything so massive. It's good. It's great. I want my foils. that's pretty much it. I don't think it goes in anything else.
It wasn't even a contested name in that deck either,
It is
was it?
not a contested name. It's going to be hard to find room, but I will find room.
I think we need a Paul McAvoy seal of approval, you know?
Imagine that's 10% less handsome. But
I'll be kind, 9.
But yeah, I love it. I think it is particularly good. But you know, again, I'm probably the only person who can talk about this card because no one's else put these decks together. But like, there's just so much about it that can keep you in the game. But look, if you want your Belgamine to go off and make sure you board wipe, Wing Wraith is going to be the thing to make it deal 7k damage to 2, or if you play all 3 of them, it's going to board wipe, right?
I quite like the look of this. I don't think it's game breaking, but it's a really interesting. Anything that fishes another copy of itself out of the deck is always worth a look. I mean,
when you mulligan into all 3.
Yeah, no, that's going to happen more often than not, I think, with my luck. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's good potential in it, and especially in a pre-release environment. You know, if you have a couple of these in Belgamine, you're really going to be in a good stead.
I do think it's going to be okay in pre-release, but I feel like in constructed, there's just too many variables for this card to go right. You need to realistically only see one, and you need to see it at the right time for when you want to play it with like the Belgiumine or whatever. And it's very difficult to cut cards out of combo. So as much as I do really want to like this card, I think there's too many variables that can go wrong for this.
Completely agree. There's too much randomness in the card game to be able to say that I will definitely search for another one. Yeah. And then if you just got a 1 CP card that deals 3k, it's just not enough. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Into Earth. Here we go, Jacob. Here we go. Here's the stuff. We have Ash.
Woo! Shit, next.
Look, 2CP Monk is always something that we look at,
20 times.
but it does not have any relevant text for a Monk deck. Sorry. Yeah, that's it. Kusif, stifle your laughter, everybody. On EX Burst, I want to remove one of my own backups to draw 1 card, or choose 1 forward that my opponent controls and see if it deals damage to a forward this turn, it becomes 0.
So would you rather dull a forward opponent controls to draw a card, or remove one of your own backups from the game to draw a card? Like, I'll give you a second to think about that, everyone at home.
I will say, playing devil's advocate, I don't think it's good, but it deals damage to you or a forward this turn. So you could play this on a Gilgamesh BE. They can attack 3 times and no damage is going to do anything.
They still get 4 dull freezes.
Is that enough to make this card good? No.
So
The thing is, we're all asking for like Kusif full art promo. Oh no, please God, no, we didn't mean this one.
Okay, I just go back to what you said there, Sam. Do you know what else stops forwards from dealing damage to you or a forward?
Just dulling them for their attack. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then getting the
tell me that,
card
bro.
Remove 1 backup you control. Wow.
What did I say at the start of the stream? I was going to try and be as irately positive about any card I could, just to try and get a reaction out of Jake.
How much are you scraping the barrel for worth?
I'm trying.
My teeth is more enjoyable than looking at these yellow cards.
Cloud Backup is Job Warrior, not Soldier, but that is pretty good for Warrior decks. For 3, you can choose 1 dull forward and break it. Not irrelevant. Look, you're not going to play it in any other deck, but if you need that one of like Warrior backup for Earth decks or something like, or that, it's fine for Tyver Search and play for free.
It may give an excuse for Tullian to be played again in Warriors.
Also Morse.
Morse is coming up with the Warrior.
But here we go. Here's the big one. It's Hugo and Titan 16. Jacob, take us away here.
Rightio. Okay.
Right, but I'm going to say something positive first off. Right. Sorry. Priming 1.
Okay, so you spent 5 CP for a 9k Brave. I suppose. Sure. So when a Hugo enters, you get to choose the forward opponent controls, and if your opponent doesn't pay 2 CP, it takes 8k damage. That puts the ball completely in your opponent's court, you know, as to whether or not they care about the forward dying or not. They could just be like, yeah, sure, have it. Or they can just discard a card and 4 CP 8k discard a card. Is that the level we're up to with these boys? I mean, yeah, 4 CP 8k is bog standard, which is not good enough. Especially again when we get onto something like Morse later on, which is a 3 CP 8k and has Brave as standard.
Surprised it doesn't have the job black belt.
Right. And then yeah, priming. But it's enter the field, do that. It might not do anything. That's literally all there is. You may or may not do something. It doesn't have any other effects. It doesn't have Brave on its own. It doesn't do anything when it attacks. It doesn't get you guaranteed value, etc. Titan cannot be is, you know, in ice or maybe lightning has a relevant line of text. Otherwise, that doesn't really mean anything at all. When it enters or it gets primed into, it's basically a repeat of Hugo's effect, except it's if your opponent doesn't pay 3, then it deals 9k damage.
That's not entirely irrelevant because you're not going to make your opponent they're not going to pay 5 to save something.
Also, as well, if you're playing an icon dominant style deck, you're playing it in ice, if the toggle and things like that. You know, if you've got discard people down so they can't pay.
Again, we compare this to the Garuda, who is a 5 CP forward rather than a 6 CP forward for exactly the same stats, but it doesn't have Brave or the semi-irrelevant line of
Or it
text.
might have haste.
But it might have haste, yeah.
And definitely if it does have haste, it removes 2 things.
But it immediately becomes free after you play it because you activate all your backups, and has a constant threat every single turn if you don't kill it, because it will just bounce 2 things every time it attacks. And not it'll bounce 2 things if my opponent doesn't, just turn a few of their backups sideways.
Breathe.
It's get them the hell out of there, right? And this is like, what they've got again, another card they've gone out of their way to make really bad for no apparent reason. And
so what you're saying
is it gets the seal.
So what you're saying is, if you pull a foil of this, Jacob will be paying top dollar.
God. It gets the Jacob seal of approval.
Oh, I'm not photoshopping that. I haven't got the time.
Even matches the colours. Look at that. Absolute state.
Look, there's worse things you can do. I think priming 1 is pretty good. But man, you're not. What deck are you building this into? Like, are you really going to put it? You've only got so many spaces, and now the more we play something like this, we're not playing ICP to actually get set up in our priming deck or our toggle deck. But unless it's going to be having Ice Earth core.
It's the taxation in Earth.
It's the only Titan that says you may or may not get value out of this card. Every single other primal is you get to do the thing you want to do. You get to kill something with Ifrit. You get to kill something with Shiva because you get the Dullaf of the Jill. You get to activate all of your backups with Garuda. Later on, you get the guaranteed draw or the guaranteed power reduction with the Bahamut and Odin. This is the only icon which says you might do bugger all.
Well, I mean, it will discard a card at minimum,
Or dull 3 backups.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, it's let's try it. Maybe it'll feel better than it reads, but I'm not particularly excited for this one either.
Somebody is more than welcome to try.
I've been told enough times that tax is bad.
This isn't as bad.
No, but
but let's talk about a positive card, which is Cacti. He's good. He's one of your break monsters, but when he's put from the field to the brick zone, choose one dole forward your opponent controls, break it, which the fence is pretty crazy.
I like to be mad that Earth cards are bad, but this might be the best out of this cycle. Just because it's just really good.
I think the next two cards are pretty good too.
I mean, in this cycle, in this cycle of monsters. You mean like the lightning and the water one?
No, I think because you were saying about like Earth cards in this set are not great all round, but I think the next two are pretty good.
Yeah, we'll get to them. But this card, again, it's super important that it says May. You can just hold this, and your opponent is going to be terrified to attack with a thing that they don't want to die, basically. So,
I mean, this is one of the cheapest break a dull effects in the game. So,
yeah.
Next up, we have Noctis, who I initially was just like, oh, well, it's just an index version of the LB one, but it's not. It's actually quite good. 6 CP, 8k, and when he enters, you can choose one Earth forward of cost 3 or less in your break zone, play it onto the field. Which, again, if you say like, oh, I'm going to resurrect my Billy Bob or my Garnet, that's, this is looking better already, more and more value back.
I mean, it is a very risky play with Ami in contention. But,
sure.
You know, paying 6 to have nothing is GG right there, most likely. But I think that's why it's a common.
I think there's a lot you can do with this.
I personally think that, you know, one of Earth's best things is the recursion. And is this better than other Earth recursion that there is available? Is this better than Kusith? I would argue no, because it doesn't have the X burst and it's not.
But it does play it directly to the field, though.
Sure, but and you get the 8k body out of it, but you're spending 1 CP less. In which case, and you can target any character or any forward or backup. Doesn't have to be Earth.
I don't think those things are exclusive, but I think I don't know. I think there's so many targets you can have with this.
This is quite cute with the new Ishtola.
It's 3 or less. The Ishtola is a 4.
The Ishtola is a 4. That's a shame.
Yes.
It's really cool. I just don't know if it slots into decks at the moment. Probably
not, but you know, I would say that especially for a common, it is a really strong card. Really strong. The legend we have next is Barsh. That's a lot of text. Let me squint to read this. 5 CP 9k, but he's probably only going to cost 2 because if you control 2 or more category 12 characters, he goes down by 3. 2 CP 9k that can't be killed by Cloud is nothing to sniff at. At the beginning of the attack phase during each of your turns, select one of the 2 following actions. Until the end of the turn, all of your forwards control 2k and gain 2k and Brave. Not bad. And reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 category 12 character or card among them to your hand, and then the rest into the break zone.
It says card because otherwise you're only flipping for the common Varn or the common Ash, none of which you're going to be looking for in sealed, I would say.
Even in standard though, like there are so many different targets you can have for this and so many easy ways to set up the backups for him.
I think this is a couple of sets too late.
We were discussing this earlier. I think this is a interesting choice for the Wind Earth Fran deck that obviously runs a high amount of Cat 12, and then this sort of filters you into your next good Cat 12.
Well, I mean, you've got so many ways. You've got so many ways to go with this though, because you still got like because that railroads you into like does the Fran play 3s or 4s? Was it
4 or less character?
But you still got like Larsa back up to be able to search this, and Gabranth searches this as well.
Different decks as well. I think
I agree.
You can move around this bash more than the Fran. To be truthful, the Fran can be a little bit more restrictive because, whereas I think you can actually just build around this as your engine instead and almost turbo by just
if you need him to draw cards, you can do it, and if you need him to be like Galuf and be massive, then you can do that as well.
I think my opinions of this is I think it's one of those cards where it's like, this is exactly the kind of card I want to see printed more because it encourages a lot of deck building thought process, but it's, to me, this reads very balanced. You know, I mean, you're almost always going to get one trigger off unless your opponent can kill it before your turn ends, which isn't very reliable. But are you going to get more than that? I don't know.
I just don't think the payoff's there at the moment for what the Cat 12 cards offer.
Because it's only top 3, so you've got to cram a lot of Cat 12 cards in your deck. And obviously, yeah, sort of first thought going to Fran. Is this the card that makes Fran good?
I don't think it's Fran at all. I think it's its own thing.
But what thing? Because 12 needs an engine, and the only other engine 12 really has is Sky Pirates. But Sky Pirates is water wind, so this doesn't really slot in there particularly easily. So like, yeah, sure, it doesn't go in Fran, it doesn't go in Sky Pirates. What 12 deck does this go into? It wants to be its own thing, but doesn't have its own thing to go into. It's almost enough. But it feels like it should have come out in a set with more 12 characters, but it's just kind of like appeared out of nowhere. It's like one of those we get this quite often as well. It's like a legend which really wants to play in a certain deck which hasn't been meta for about 5 sets, and would be like, oh shit, if this came out like the set after that set was meta, then maybe that deck would have been a bit more relevant for a little bit longer.
What you mean, like every lightning legend for like the last few years before recently, like. No, I get it. I think it's still worth playing with, though. I'm going to look into building with this one because I think that there's too many options on it.
I think this is a fantastic pub deck card, but I don't expect to see this top.
I'm going to try it in my Sky Pirates deck, but I still think the other Bash offers you a lot more.
Yeah, quite possibly. Well, maybe it is like Headhunters or something like that. That's still cool.
Or even just like Earth Water, like, you know, your blue worms are Cat 12, so you can like grab blue worms, play blue worms, get more draw. Again, just adds to that, you're just flooding the field.
Yeah, but I think you're going to run out of Cat 12 cards you can fit in to make sure this doesn't miss.
I mean, there are some very good Cat 12 summons, like for instance, Kusith is Cat 12, Kuchulain Cat 12.
This one, yeah.
The new Kusith, I mean, absolutely broken. What else? I mean, get out of here.
Right.
Cactimania, Cat 12. I mean, we all know someone that's going to be happy with that selection. Yeah, it is nice that it hits summons, but I don't think it's enough.
This next card is an absolute banger. No, it's not. It's terrible. It's
next card.
Yeah, next card. Draws a card and then like makes things like big and brave, but that card that you played this turn can't attack because it just entered the field. So
it could have been card named Monk, I think, and monks still wouldn't have been.
No, they wouldn't play this. And Hugh Yerg.
Now this is a banger.
Yeah, well, I was really into this card when I searched a forward of cost 1 played to the field. I was like, oh my god, this is exactly the Bart's Boko stuff I was after. And then I read it says Earth, no, and then I just like so it can get. What it's Leo and
Leo or Mirror. Yeah.
Or what's he called? Suzuhisa.
We can play Suzuhisa, sure.
That's it. That's it.
Is that all the Earth one drops?
Well, Leo, yeah, well, Leo as well.
There's another Leo, but yeah.
Yeah, this Leo.
It can play Borgen.
Oh no, it can get that Tifa from a couple of sets ago that keeps attacking every turn. Keep reactivating it.
This Leo, I'm just going to quickly say, because we're not really, if we're just glossing over this, sort of cool, but 5 CP is quite expensive, or 4 CP twice is, well, it says characters. You can dull the Hugh, Jurg, and Leo, I suppose. But it's yeah.
Maybe
it's
there's
a cardable
like a storm deck where that can shine, but we'll see.
Hugh, Jurg, look, job warrior, but you can't play it off of Tyvis.
It just this card is basically almost always going to play a mirror or a Leo from your deck, which I think is good enough. Honestly, I think that's fine. I mean, Hugh Jurg as a name is just it's not contested, so I don't think it's too bad to slot in one of those decks quite easily.
Yeah, try it, I guess. I don't think it's too bad, but I wish this is the thing that I could pull out the Boko with. I really do. Like, oh man,
we can't have our Earth cards being that good.
Yeah,
I don't think it would have killed it to not have the Earth on there.
Well, like then it would be able to play like Ultros. So
then it would play Lightning. Yeah, it would play Lightning
or Zezat. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, no, I think it's a good thing. It says that for.
Yeah, fair enough. Next we have Fenrir. If you cast Fenrir, you may discard 1 card as an extra cost. It's not going well so far. Choose one for your opponent controls. If its cost is equal to the cost of the card you discarded with the extra cost, break it and draw 1 card. Oh, well, it looks nice.
It looks amazing, but at least you have the flexibility of discarding 0 and making it a complete waste of time.
Ah, yeah.
2 CP to show your opponent a Fenrir.
So
Have a look, mate.
why wouldn't they make it just if it costs less?
But you know what? Why wouldn't they? Please go ahead and tell
discard your arcs and.
I can appreciate they maybe needed to make it cost a bit more than 2 if they do that. Maybe.
No,
but I
because
don't
it still
get.
costs 4 in which this card costs 4. Yeah,
But
But
there's
you're
a
drawing one.
there's a 4 CP
Wow.
summon in Lightning which definitely makes sure that the thing that it targets is dead, and yeah, this is too many hoops. So
I just don't get this.
I mean, so you wanna pay 2 CP to 4 CP to maybe kill something and draw a card, or you could spend 2 CP on an EX burst card and that's a rare and get a guaranteed dull and draw a card, or maybe kill something on 3 or less, or less, by the way. So I don't know.
but it looks nice, so I will.
I think I take this, Jacob.
That's one of the biggest parts.
If I open the full art, I will happily sell it.
I want one.
I will happily sell it to you.
50p in a firm hand.
The Cat 9 full arts have been so greatly designed.
White monk is not a monk. It's a white monk.
We were so close.
Choose one monster of cost 3 or less, break it, and you can only do it if an Earth Fort is entered this turn. Yeah, do you know what? This is not bad, and it is searchable, but you're not going to play it in any Earth deck right now.
Absolutely not.
Depends on how much monsters take off, I guess, but yeah.
It's yeah. Well, not enough to say about it.
Moogle Sopfo. When a forward other than Moogle Sopfo enters your field, activate Moogle Sopfo, and choose one forward. It gains 2,000 power until the end of the turn. Massive thing about this one is that it's a forward. There we go. Backup, broken, awesome. Forward, next.
Yeah, I mean, that being a backup, your Storm decks, your Earth Storm decks would have been just next level. But yeah.
We've seen commons better than this and other elements so far, so we'll continue onwards.
Moors. I can't believe they're doing book characters like this, but look, it's a 3 CP warrior. It's cool. I don't love it personally. I appreciate that it gets massive at damage 5, but I think with a lot of the way the warrior decks are, like even if you have your toolboxy cards, then you've not necessarily got Earth CP to spend. And most of the time when you're playing a free warrior, you don't pay, and you do pay with this. So,
I think it was interesting they've given a couple more warriors to Earth, because we have had Earth warriors before.
There's 3 in this set.
Exactly.
I don't. Look, it does what it says, and you know the sort of deck that it goes in. I don't love it, but I'm sure others will more than I do.
I can see this being tested out a fair bit.
Yeah. I don't know if it's enough to make the cut, because
I think it's interesting.
Like even Earth variants now aren't playing Tullian, so like.
But that's what I'm saying is maybe you can have like a more of a heavy control version with these sort of Earth cards as well, and rather than dabbling into water, that you can focus like as a fire Earth deck. I don't know if it's good. I think it's worth testing. I don't think it's the kind of deck I personally am too excited for, but I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
What were the Earth Warriors from the other sets? It was Tullian, and there was another one, wasn't there?
There was a 5 CP one like Harvey, but it wasn't worth playing because it cost 5.
Oh, Hugh Yerg is also a warrior. The new one is, I think the only other one that's really of interest is as a 5 CP Hugh Yerg, which can search a job warrior, and it's an EX burst.
Okay. I'd be curious to see if somebody comes up with, because I know it was spoken about a bit, but to see if there does become an actual Earth Warriors deck. Or Fire Earth Warriors deck, should I say.
Next up is one of my favorite cards in the set. It's Ishtola. So it's no it's not exactly a secret that I'm in love with Mono Lightning as of this set, but Mono Lightning has like 6-7 fire cards in it, but it's still like it's got Mono Lightning backups. It's definitely Mono Lightning. To the point that you, Jack, you borrowed it at Euros and won the side event with it.
I did indeed. It was a very fun deck.
Everything, I love that deck, but like there's loads of recursion in it, but only for like lightning cards as an EX burst that can make sure that I can get back any forwards. That's Cymru or any of the fire, like getting back the fire cloud so that I can then like S effect with it, and then just spend this itself as S effect fodder for the lightning Ishtola. Or if I have this in hand, I can, and don't have any other Earth CP, I can use this for the same cost to cast LB Noctis. Like there's so much you can do with it. I absolutely love it. And in Mono Lightning, if you were somehow to place to the board, you could actually get the 3,000 power on this relatively easy.
This recurring your Alizés and stuff, I think, is really solid as well.
I legitimately think that there's some really solid lightning cards coming up, and maybe not as much as Sidolphus, but or on the level as this is one of the best cards that's happened to Mono Lightning in some time. I know how it sounds.
I can't say I see it, but I'd like to see it in a deck to see how your thought process converts over to a deck.
I would have been with you until I played the deck, and then I can definitely see what this does.
So I'm already
and the
up to
fact it's called Y'shtola already means it's like you're just swapping out the other dual element Y'shtola.
Yeah, so it does a little bit make your Alizé worse, but you were not often going to play the other Y'shtola anyway. Mm-hmm. So like there's still enough targets, but I might even take Alizé down to 2, which sounds mental, but I may have to just to get the extra one of this in there. So we are at the last card of Earth, which is the other legend, which is Lightning. Right. I've seen a lot of people get very excited for this card. I'm going to be upfront with this one as well. I don't get it. I do not see any deck that wants to play this and play at least 3 copies of this. I just see Duke Snakeheart.
I again am going to point out the fact that this is a pretty good card for any element other than Earth. Why do you need to play this in Earth? I think what you do is you maybe play this as a 1, potentially 2, probably not, but like a 1 of in like a lightning deck or a lightning water deck where you have other lightnings and you can just kind of surprise your opponent with it at any point. If it goes to your bin, who cares? You can play the dual element lightning, water, lightning again from your bin by removing this. This is not an Earth card. What is she doing? Like, she just wanted to be like, oh, it could be Earth now, by the way, guys. And it's like, yeah, well, you'll never see a sleeve in an Earth deck. It's like, I don't get it, man. I really don't. Like,
I just don't see what deck you put it in. There's just easier ways to deal with anything that you want to deal with. Like,
It's a combat trick when combat tricks have fallen very out of favor.
Yeah.
I have seen people talk about it sort of going in like a Turbo Chaos deck, which I guess I can kind of see. I think it's a good legend in that I think it's super interesting. And it's a kind of card that I can see popping up randomly here and there in a competitive deck and catching people off guard. But it's not the kind of card you look at and read and you go, this is what I wanted. This is what I was missing.
banger, must have it. Full arts, please.
This is the lightning card I was obviously expecting.
Yeah.
She looks like she's looking at something behind me.
So is it now just fire we haven't got lightning in and dark?
That's correct. Fire and dark.
Well,
There's
there's
a
a multi-element
lightning wind
one.
one, yeah.
Oh
it's a
yeah.
multi-element.
Sort of then, yeah.
Light and dark.
Right. Oh,
There's a light one.
Earth, we made it. Jacob,
Oh, it's over. Oh, thank God for that.
I'm so sorry. I'm I think there's some sleeper hits in Earth. I think there's some good stuff. I really like the Noctis. I think that the Barsh has hidden depth to it. The cloud backup is cool.
The best Earth cards this set are in other elements.
Yeah, well, and the best Earth card, in my opinion, I'm going to play in Mono Lightning. So
There you go. Brilliant.
Just you
Thanks,
wait.
Epic
You're going to
Hand.
play a deck with that Titan in, Jacob. I'm calling it now.
You know what? Maybe I will, and maybe I'll win CACTIMANIA with it. So I'd watch out.
And that's the thing. Like I will say, and it's easy to come on these things and be like, my opinion, this. Myself, and I know all of you as well, like, cannot be happier when we get it wrong. And it's just like, because I in the last set, I was just like, I wasn't really sure about the LB Luso, and like within like week one, I was just like, this is the most amazing card for Mono Lightning ever. Oh my God, this is incredible. And just completely turned around with it. So like, yeah, look, for anybody in the comments that are getting massively angry with any of our opinions, they are just opinions, and we love getting it wrong. So, and if we have got it wrong and you've got the proof, show it, because that's what we want to see.
I'd say more importantly, don't rage type down below. Start a conversation. We'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, we will return shortly for lightning and water. So thanks very much.
Exciting elements.
See ya.
Catch you in a bit.